In the 1st century AD, the Roman Senate tries to ban a fabric. Moralists call it indecent. The treasury calls it ruinous. The scholar Pliny complains that Eastern luxuries drain 100 million sesterces from the empire every single year. Gold that flows east and never comes back. The fabric is silk. And here is the remarkable thing. Nobody in Rome knows where it comes from. They call the makers the Ceres, the silk people, and imagine the thread growing on trees. The merchants who sell it have never seen China. The people who weave it have never heard of Rome. Between the two empires lie 7,000 kilometers of desert, mountain, and steppe, and a chain of middlemen so long that no single traveler will walk it end to end for 1,000 years. This is the story of the Silk Road. Not a road at all, a shifting network of tracks, oases, and markets that tied the ancient world together for 15 centuries. It carried silk and gold, paper and plague, gods and empires. And it made the world, for the first time, one place. The story begins not with a merchant, but with a hostage. In 138 BC, the Chinese Han Empire is under attack from the north. Mounted nomads, the Xiongnu, raid its frontier at will. The emperor, Wu, hears of a people far to the west, the Yuezhi, who have their own blood feud with the Xiongnu, and decides to seek an alliance. He sends an envoy, a court officer named Zhang Qian, with 100 men. Zhang Qian rides straight into Xiongnu territory and is captured almost immediately. He is held for 10 years. He marries, raises a son, and never gives up the mission. When he finally escapes, he does not turn back. He keeps going west, across the Darim Basin, over the Pamir Mountains, into the Fergana Valley, and there he finds a world China never knew existed. Walled cities, irrigated fields, thriving markets, and beyond them kingdoms with names like Bactria and Parthia, and rumors of a great empire further west still. The Yuezhi, comfortable in their new homeland, politely refuse the alliance. As a diplomat, Zhang Qian has failed. Of his 100 men, 2 come home. But the report he delivers in 125 BC electrifies the Han court. Above all his description of Fergana's tall, fast, heavenly horses, the war horses China desperately needs against the nomads. The emperor wants them. Han armies push west along the Hushi corridor, planting fortresses and watchtowers as they go. In 104 BC, a Chinese army marches 3,000 kilometers and besieges Fergana cities until the horses are handed over. The door to the west now stands open, and the camel caravans are right behind the soldiers, loaded with silk. Look at what those caravans face. From Chang'an, the capital, the route runs northwest through the Hushi corridor, a 1,000-kilometer alley squeezed between the Tibetan Plateau and the Gobi Desert. At the oasis of Dunhuang, the last Chinese outpost, it passes the Jade Gate and faces the Taklamakan. Caravan men say the desert's name is a warning. You go in, you don't come out. So the road splits and clings to the desert's edges, oasis to oasis. The northern branch runs through Turfan and Kutcha. The southern branch runs through Khotan, where rivers wash jade down from the mountains, a stone the Chinese have prized above gold for 2,000 years. The branches meet again at Kashgar, at the desert's far end, and run into a wall, the Pamirs, with passes higher than 4,000 meters. The vehicle for all of this is an animal perfectly built for the job, the 2-humped Bactrian camel. It hauls 200 kilograms of cargo, walks 40 kilometers a day, endures both the desert's furnace and the mountain passes frost, and it can smell water on the wind. Caravan masters trust their camels' noses more than any map. A caravan is a slow ship on a sea of sand. Chang'an to Kashgar alone takes 3 months. Without this animal, there is no Silk Road. Beyond the mountains, the road descends into a gentler world. Samarkand and Bokhara, the caravan cities of Sogdiana. Merv, the great crossroads oasis. Then Persia, Mesopotamia, and at last the Mediterranean at Antioch. Here is the crucial fact. No one travels the whole road. Goods do. A bolt of silk changes hands a dozen times. Chinese soldier, Sogdian trader, Parthian middleman, Syrian wholesaler, Roman noblewoman, and every hand takes its cut. By the time it reaches Rome, silk can sell for its weight in gold. And the traffic flows both ways. Westward go silk, spices, and furs. Eastward come gold and silver, wool, wine, and Roman glass, prized in China as highly as China's silk is prized in Rome. Archaeologists still find Roman glassware in Chinese tombs. By the 1st century AD, for empires share the road like sections of one long pipeline. Rome on the Mediterranean, Parthia across Persia, the Kushan Empire astride Afghanistan and northern India, Han China in the east. Between them the road works, but every empire guards its own section and its own margin. Rome meets Parthia first, on a battlefield. At Carrhae, in 53 BC, Parthian horse archers annihilate 7 Roman legions. Legend claims that at the battle's climax, the Parthians unfurl banners of a shimmering, unknown fabric, the first silk Rome ever sees. Within a generation, Rome is addicted. Parthia intends to keep its position in the middle. Every attempt at direct contact between Rome and China dies in Persia. In 97 AD, a Chinese envoy named Gan Ing actually reaches the Persian Gulf, aiming for Rome. Parthian sailors tell him the sea crossing takes 2 years, and that men die of homesickness on the way. He turns back. The road's middlemen protect their margin. In the Syrian desert, the caravan city of Palmyra grows so rich on tolls that its merchant princes line the sands with marble colonnades. And in the south, the Kushans open a second door, down the Indus to the Indian Ocean, where ships ride the monsoon winds to Egypt. A maritime Silk Road, running parallel to the land one. Only once do the pipeline's two ends touch. In 166 AD, travelers claiming to be envoys of Onduin, Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, reached the Han court, by sea. They are probably just enterprising merchants. It hardly matters. For the first time in history, Rome and China stand in the same room. The road carries more than cargo. It carries everything people can pack, including their gods. Buddhism leaves India in the 1st century AD, moves through the Kushan lands, and travels oasis by oasis across the Darim. By the 4th century, Dunhuang, the desert gateway, is becoming one of the holiest places in Asia. In 366, monks begin carving the Mogeo caves, hundreds of chapels cut into a desert cliff, painted and repainted for 1,000 years. One of those chambers, sealed around the year 1000 and forgotten, will be opened in 1900. 50,000 manuscripts in a dozen languages, the greatest paper time capsule of the medieval world. Much of this traffic moves through the hands of one people, the Sogdians of Samarkand. Their caravans dominate the road for 4 centuries. Their language becomes its lingua franca, their alphabet the ancestor of scripts from Mongolia to Manchuria. A bundle of their letters, lost in a ruined watchtower near Dunhuang, and found 16 centuries later, still complains about slow payments and unreliable partners. Empires on the road rise and fall. The Sogdian trader outlasts them all. The traffic in faith runs both directions. In 629, the Chinese monk Xuanzang slips past the border guards. Leaving China is illegal, and walks to India to find the original scriptures. He returns 16 years later carrying 600 texts, and the emperor who should arrest him gives him a hero's welcome instead. Christian missionaries from Persia reach Chang'an in 635. The emperor lets them build a church. Zoroastrians, Manichaeans, and soon Muslims all walk the same tracks. And secrets travel too, even the best-kept secret in the world. For 700 years China has guarded the source of silk, the worm, the mulberry leaf, the cocoon. Exporting silkworm eggs is punishable by death. The secret leaks slowly westward. First to Khotan. Legend says a Chinese princess carried eggs hidden in her headdress as she rode to her wedding. Then, around the year 552, 2 monks walk into Constantinople with silkworm eggs hidden inside their bamboo staves, and lay them before the Emperor Justinian. Byzantium begins weaving its own silk. China's greatest monopoly, held longer than Rome existed, is broken by 2 men with hollow walking sticks. In the 7th century, the map redraws itself violently. Arab armies erupt from the desert. Persia, the eternal middleman, falls within a generation. The new Islamic caliphate keeps the caravans moving. Conquest is bad for business only until the business changes hands. From the east, Tang China pushes deeper into Central Asia than any Chinese dynasty before it. In 751, on the Talas River, the two expanding worlds finally collide. An Abbasid army defeats the Chinese, the first and last time those two empires ever meet in battle. Among the Chinese prisoners, the story goes, are papermakers. Within decades, Samarkand paper is famous across the Islamic world. By the 790s, Baghdad has paper mills. Europe will wait another 4 centuries. Paper, the technology that will one day carry the printing press and the Renaissance, travels west as a prisoner of war. For years after Talas, catastrophe guts China from within. The Lushan rebellion of 755 devastates the empire and forces the Tang to recall every western garrison. Tibet seizes the Darim oases. The Sogdian merchant network, the road's great engine for 4 centuries, withers with its Chinese market. The road does not die. It recenters. Baghdad, the new Abbasid capital, becomes the richest city on earth, and more of the silk trade moves by sea, through the Indian Ocean, where one ship's hull carries what 1,000 camels can. In the ports of southern China, whole foreign quarters spring up, tens of thousands of Arab and Persian merchants living in Guangzhou under Tang law. The land road waits for its second act. The second act arrives on horseback, and it is terrifying. In 1206, Genghis Khan unites the steppe tribes. Within 20 years, Mongol armies shatter every empire the road passes through. The great caravan cities, Bokhara, Samarkand, Merv, are stormed one after another. Merv, one of the largest cities in the world, is left a smoking ruin. And then, on the far side of the slaughter, something no one expects: peace. For the first time in history, almost the entire road lies under a single law. Mongol authority protects merchants. Relay stations with fresh horses, the yam, chain across Asia. A metal tablet stamped with the Khan seal is a passport across 100 degrees of longitude. Travelers repeat a saying. A maiden carrying a plate of gold could walk from one end of the empire to the other, unharmed. Traffic explodes. Persian astronomers work in Beijing. Chinese gunpowder reaches Europe. A monk born in Beijing travels the road the other way and prays with the kings of France and England. And in 1271, a 17-year-old Venetian named Marco Polo sets out with his father and uncle. He reaches the court of Kublai Khan 4 years later, serves him for 17, and comes home by sea in 1295 with stories Europe refuses to believe: paper money, black stones that burn, cities of 1 million people. Europe files his book under fantasy. But a century and a half later, a Genoese sailor will carry a worn, annotated copy of it onto a ship bound west across the Atlantic. The road's greatest strength is that everything travels on it. That is also how it dies. Somewhere in the 1330s, in the marmot country of Central Asia, plague crosses from rodents to humans and gets on the road. It moves with the caravans, khanate to khanate, oasis to oasis. In 1346, it reaches a Mongol army besieging the Genoese trading post of Kaffa in Crimea. Chroniclers claim the Khan catapults the corpses of his own dead over the walls. The Genoese ships flee and carry the Black Death into the Mediterranean. Within 5 years, a third of Europe is dead. The plague breaks the Mongol world too. The Khanates collapse or turn on one another. In China, the Ming dynasty expels the Mongols in 1368 and turns inward. The brick and stone Great Wall we know today is a Ming project, built to shut the steppe out for good. For one astonishing generation, China takes to the ocean instead. Between 1405 and 1433, the Admiral Zhang, he leads treasure fleets of 300 ships to India, Arabia, and the coast of Africa. Then the court reverses itself. The voyages are banned, and the greatest navy on earth is left to rot at its moorings. China builds walls. Europe, soon, will build ships. Timur, the last great steppe conqueror, rebuilds a dazzling Samarkand. and pays for it by wrecking every rival caravan city within reach. The final blows come from the water. In 1453, the Ottomans take Constantinople, and the road's old western terminus is now a toll gate in hostile hands. Europe starts looking for a way around the middlemen altogether. In 1498, Vasco da Gama rounds Africa and drops anchor in India. The ocean moves more cargo in one hull than the desert moves in a season, with no tolls, no mountains, and no middlemen. The caravans keep walking for centuries yet, but the world's main street has moved to the sea. The name came last. In 1877, long after the last great caravans, a German geographer, Ferdinand von Richthofen, drew the old routes on a map and wrote a label across Asia, Die Seidenstrasse, the Silk Road. And the road never quite let go. Today, freight trains roll from Chongqing to Duisburg along the old northern corridor, and China calls its trillion-dollar infrastructure plan the New Silk Road. Remember Rome, an empire addicted to a fabric from a country it could not name? The road's real cargo was never silk. It was contact, the slow discovery, across 15 centuries, that the far end of the world was real, that someone was there. Paper and plague, gods and gunpowder, the horses of Fergana and the stories of Marco Polo. Everything that built the modern world once traveled the same dusty tracks, one caravan at a time. If you want more history drawn on maps, forgotten empires, lost routes, and the networks that made the world, subscribe. The next journey is already on the map.